Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending our open forum for the Campus Carry, which is almost kind of a misnomer anyway. But what we're going to, first of all, I'd like to thank the members of the Executive Cabinet, President DeTavio, Dr. Boren, and Dr. Kyle McGregor for allowing us to take part in this and to present this in an easy way so that you can, if you have any questions, you'll know where to direct them to. We have a great slide presentation to help folks understand what this process is going to be. We also have about 8 speakers. We will do the logistics on those in a little bit, and if anybody else would like to, once these speakers have finished, then we'll certainly give you the opportunity. Okay? So, with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Styron. Okay. Thank you.
Again, my name is Kent Styron. I'm the Director of Risk Management and Compliance, and I'm also the Chair of the Campus Carry Council. I want to thank each of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this important discussion. When the Council discussed the idea of hosting a forum, Dr. Lacefield's name came forward and was suggested, and we are happy for you to be here today with us, presiding over this program. Lastly, I want to recognize those individuals that are serving on the Council. After I introduce all the members, join with me in showing our appreciation. They have been working diligently since September, meeting every 2 weeks in this effort. These members include, that are here today, Dr. Javier Garza, Mr. Harry Batson, Dr. Kim Reinierson, Mr. Bobby Waddell, and Mr. Matt Welch. If you would, thank you. The remaining members had pre-existing commitments and could not attend today, and I want to thank them as well. After I've completed my brief presentation, the purpose of today's forum is just this. We want to hear from you. And again, this is the representatives on the Council, and I think you'll see that we have a good representation of the campus. Our objectives for today is to review the Campus Carry Council charge. We want to review the laws that impact campus carry at universities, and we also want to review the resources that we developed for your use here on campus. The charge of the Council, we're charged with developing a Tarleton rule for presidential approval that complies with Senate Bill 11. And I will tell you that as we work on this recommendation, ultimately, it will be submitted to the Executive Cabinet and the President. From there, it will go to the System Policy Office, then on to the Office of General Counsel, and then ultimately to the Chancellor's Office. And each step of the way, each group will have input and have the ability to revise what we've submitted. And they'll look at our recommendations and to ensure that they meet legal sufficiency. So that's important to know. Whoops. The key factors that we have to consider as a council that are mandated by law are the nature of the student population, specific safety considerations, and the uniqueness of the campus environment. So when you come forward or you provide input to the council, if you could base your comments on these factors, because it will help us weigh that against what's required by law. And ultimately, we want to ensure that we're compatible with other system members. We know there will be some variances because each campus is different, but there's going to be a lot of everyone's rule that will be the same. This process will inform whether the rule prohibits concealed carry from any specific campus areas or activities. And again, at the end of the day, when we submit our recommendations and those recommendations are approved, then we'll be getting together with the campus community down in the future to explain what those recommendations are. Again, we'll be tasked with implementing the recommendations by August 1st, 2016. And so after we provide our recommendations, the council's work has just begun, because then we have to determine how do we establish a budget and how do we develop a project to implement everything that we've recommended and approved. To give you some background, as you know, June 13, 2015, Governor Abbott signed Senate Bill 11. It was passed by the 84th legislature, and it's known as the Campus Carry Law. Texas is the 8th U.S. state to allow concealed carry of handguns in buildings on campus. And Campus Carry Law is scheduled to go into effect August 1st, 2016, and it permits only handgun license holders to carry a concealed handgun on campus. The Campus Carry Law will allow universities to establish reasonable rules which may prohibit carrying in certain areas as long as it does not generally prohibit or have the effect of generally prohibiting the carry by handgun license holders on campus. And to put this in context, Senator Birdwell, the author of this bill, the day the bill was passed, his statement was that it allows limited reasonable rules. So we have to keep that in mind. Open carry of handguns or other firearms is still prohibited on university campuses, and license holders have been allowed to carry concealed handguns on campuses since 1995, just not in buildings. Again, these are the three criteria established by law that we need to consider when looking at our recommendations. Now, if you look at the CHL or the penal code and what areas are prohibited by law, in 4603, the one that applies to us is any high school, collegiate, or professional sporting event or interscholastic event. Under 4603, it prohibits carry at a school or educational facility, but after August 1st of next year, of course, higher ed, public institutions, you will be able to carry. And then government court or offices utilized by the court, because at the Hickman building, for instance, there is a court in that building. Now, back when the original CHL law was put into law back in 1995, there were several areas and questions that lawmakers looked at to establish that law that we can still, and they're still relevant today. They looked at sporting or interscholastic events, and then they asked the question, where will negligent handling of a handgun result in potential catastrophic harm? Well, a lot of universities are looking at, if they have any nuclear or accelerator facilities on their campus, or they have a level 4 biolab, so they're looking at special research that may be a concern. They also ask what locations exist where we might have extreme psychological and emotional stress that might temporarily impair judgment of the state's most law-abiding citizens. Well, back then, the first thing that came to mind was hospitals, because of the emotional stress that's placed on family members during a tough situation. So now they're looking at, some of the universities, or what they're looking at are areas like the health or counseling centers on their universities. The other question that they looked at back then is the idea of limiting the number of transition areas where somebody has to enter into a prohibited area and they need an area maybe to store their firearm while they go in. Well, many of the campuses are challenged with, do they add a transition area? Because again, if somebody unholsters or unconceals, then they've become unconcealed. So that's one of the questions that many campuses are looking at. Whoops. If we look at some of the numbers, 1.44% represents the average percent of CHLs issued to the age group 21 to 30 years of age in 2014. If you look at our campus population, student population, here in Stephenville, this fall we had about 3,700 students in that age group. In Tarleton, system-wide, we had about 5,400 students. In 2014, the Erath County population was 39,000, and that year there was 476 CHLs issued. 0.1% represents the CHL holders that had licenses revoked in 2014, and 99.97% represents the criminal convictions in 2013 were by non-CHL holders, which are very low statistics. Now, as far as resources, I hope everyone's had an opportunity to look at our website. It has a lot of the information that we've talked about. There's links to the Department of Public Safety website where you can pull a number of these stats. They're all available and they're for public use. Also, we have a share your thoughts section, so you can click a button and you can provide any comments to the council that we can review. And I can tell you that the council members have viewed every comment that we've seen at this point. And then obviously there's our Campus Carry email address that you could send a comment directly to us on that. One last comment as far as something that's relevant and an update. Many of you maybe saw in the paper, but 2 weeks ago, Senator Birdwell submitted a letter to Texas Attorney General in late November requesting a timely opinion on several points related to how much discretion a university has in establishing rules for locations and activities. So we're not waiting, but because we're going to continue to work on our recommendations, but we don't know what will be the timeline that there will be a response from the Attorney General's office. But I can tell you that I think a number of universities will be waiting for those comments in order to finalize some of the recommendations and also to make decisions on that. So, thank you, and I appreciate your feedback. Again, I want to, if you haven't signed up to comment today, I would just ask you, if you do have comments, send them to our website or our email address, and we appreciate all those thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Kent. Okay. Well put together presentation. All right, so the logistics of this, how we're going to do this is, I would like the folks that would like to speak, they're numbered. If you'll go ahead and start behind the mark space on the line here. Each person will be allowed 2 minutes to speak. We have a timer here who's going to hold up a 30-second card to let you know. And if you need a little bit more time to finish your thought, that's fine. Okay. Any questions before we get started? All right. Mr. Justin Brendan, please step over here to this microphone.
Hello, my name is Justin Brendan. I'm a senior geoscience student here at Tarleton State University. I'm also a lab instructor. I wanted to express the pleasure that I have that is coming from this law and my ability to defend myself. I had a situation several years ago where I had to protect a friend who was a domestic abuse victim. She was trying to escape a bad relationship. Her partner was high on methamphetamines and was trying to stop me from taking her to see her parents who would take her back home. And I had to stop him at gunpoint. I did not have to use my weapon, luckily. But this was right across from campus. It took 10 minutes. The situation was already over before police were able to come. I think that this is going to provide an opportunity for people to continue their ability to protect themselves once they walk off campus. Because normally, as soon as I step on campus, I'm no longer able to defend myself. So that's a nice ability. There are a few points that I would like to add for ways we can implement this in a way that is safe and effective. One of the things I would recommend is that there is a training program for students and faculty who want to carry, so we can interact with law enforcement on campus. We can know what their expectations are of us. We know exactly what to do if there is a situation, so that way there's clear communication. I know there's a lot of concern among some people that, police and law enforcement will mistake a student for an active shooter and vice versa. So we need to establish clear guidelines for that. I think that would be very, very helpful. I think that we also need to try to limit the areas that are, off limits. I understand that places that have emotional stress, like counseling centers, and also places where healthcare is administered on campus, those are definitely places that I think are fair game for no longer having firearms. But I think that the more places you have on campus where you can't carry, if I have to go to a certain classroom that doesn't have that ability, I'm going to have to go all the way across campus, put the weapon in my vehicle, walk back to that classroom, attend that activity, walk all the way back to re-secure my firearm. And in the meantime, that firearm's in the car in the parking lot. I would actively support involvement of CHL holders on campus with administration, with law enforcement. I think that this is going to be a good thing for our campus. It's going to be a way for women to protect themselves, because this has been an ongoing issue on campus. Women's rights are it's been tough as far as some of the females that I've known on campus. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Dr. Stephanie Robertson. I am the Director of Student Counseling Services on campus and a licensed psychologist. I want to first thank the committee for providing an opportunity for us to openly discuss some ideas about this topic. We have several primary concerns with regard to student mental health services, including the increased risk for completed suicide, increased risk for intimate partner violence, increased risk for person-to-person violence, and increased risk for injury or death due to accidental discharge. Because my time is limited, I'm going to focus primarily on increased risk for completed suicide. According to a 2013 CDC study, mass shooting events account for approximately 0.1% of firearm-related deaths, whereas suicide accounts for about 61% of firearm-related fatalities in the United States. Among youth in our student population age, it's the third leading cause of death, and more than half of suicides are completed by a firearm which is located in their place of residence. The Suicide Prevention Center's comprehensive approach to prevention of suicide deaths recommends restricting access to lethal means. And so we would recommend restricting the access to lethal means for students who are struggling with suicide or homicidal ideation. This is not a problem that's national. I mean, it is a problem that's national, but it's not. Tarleton students also struggle with this issue. About 8.3% of students who seek counseling services have considered suicide, and campus-wide surveys indicate that 13.6% of our population has seriously considered suicide in the past 12 months. 11.4% of our students have actually attempted suicide at some point in their lives. So we have a few recommendations to mitigate some of the risk related to mental health concerns, including dedicated gun-free residence halls and/or the opportunity for students to self-select out of a CHL roommate situation. I know that this is going to be a limited population, but giving students the opportunity to say, I would like to not have a CHL person as my roommate because I have attempted suicide in the past or I have struggled with suicidal ideation. In aligning with what Kent mentioned, we would recommend that the health and counseling centers be dedicated gun-free zones. And then we would request a no questions asked surrender policy be written for the university in a surrender location so that students who are struggling with suicidal ideation have a safe place to surrender their weapons until they feel like they are more able to manage their emotions. Thank you.
Thank you. The third speaker wasn't able to join us today, but she did provide a letter to statement. So I'm going to read that on her behalf. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay, this is from Professor R.C. Tanner. It's dated 11/30/2015. And thank you for allowing me to have my say. I apologize for not being able to attend in person. It seems to me that faculty will have no option when it comes to having guns in our classrooms and classroom buildings. I hope we will be allowed some latitude in our offices, given that they are much smaller spaces and our faculty's only private space on campus, though not truly our own. As someone who teaches older students very often, I'm concerned about guns in my classrooms. Not that I fear an active shooter, but I worry about accidents, students whose emotions might not be in check, students who might be hungover, and I do get those in parentheses, quotes, and hence might not be so careful, etc. I am concerned about security in our buildings. I assume that there will be panic buttons installed in our classrooms and offices. I would like to know if we will have an increased police presence on campus at all hours. Since most of our classrooms have only had one exit and many have no windows, we are apples in a barrel should a bullet be fired accidentally or not. I am concerned that some spaces on campus will be considered privileged and thus will have more security than our classrooms. Yet the classrooms are where the majority of students and faculty can be found on any given weekday. I also worry for our staff members, most of whom work in offices where there is no escape if a gun goes off if brandished. Students often use classrooms at night for organizational meetings. What procedure will they follow if there is an accident? As safety is no doubt your top priority as a committee, I hope you are all taking all of these things into considerations. Anyone over 21 with a CHL will be able to bring guns in our buildings. This increases the risk of accidents and other forms of injury. In order to do my job and perform the duties assigned to me, I need to know that I am safe and that my students are safe. While you are probably unable to keep guns from the places many of us would like to see them banned, you can keep safely foremost in your minds and set forth plans to keep us safe. I have never worried about my physical safety on the Tarleton campus, and I hope that you will be able to ensure that I won't need to start now. And once again, that is from Professor Marcy Tanter, who was not able to join us because she had to attend a funeral. Okay. Number 4, thank you. Dr. Laura Helvey-Mason.
Can you hear me? Height issue, right? My name is Laura Helvey-Mason, and I'm an Associate Professor of Communication Studies. I'm also the Director of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. And I come to this topic with a lot of emotional reservation, just from past experiences. I would like to note that many faculty and staff have varied experiences, and I love the idea that everyone's using their voice, even if they don't all agree. I think that's a powerful moment. I also appreciate the ability to speak with the committee today. Thank you for your time and for your representation. My past teaching and life experiences clearly show me that weapons in the classroom will not enhance or foster a positive learning environment. And they in no way help us to fulfill the primary mission of Tarleton State University. Indeed, it only serves to add risk to and detract from the learning environment. Consider a PTSD veteran, a student, or a faculty member who's been impacted in the past by violence, as many of us have at the hands of guns. How can we teach and how can they learn when there are weapons in the classroom? For that reason, I implore the committee to strongly consider adopting gun-free classrooms to allow students and faculty who cannot possibly teach or learn with the gun in the classroom an opportunity for a safe space to learn and to teach. If the committee determines that a blanket gun-free classroom policy is not possible, which is what I'm kind of hearing, please consider having several designated gun-free classroom spaces for those of us who are truly conscientious objectors, who truly cannot teach in the presence of a weapon, who cannot fathom having a weapon in our educational environment. Please consider the views of those of us with diverse teaching backgrounds and experiences as you move forward with the policy. For us, this is a matter that truly impacts our ability to work here, to teach here, and to feel safe here. Thank you for your time.
Hello, I'm Stella, just student. One of the reasons I chose to come to Tarleton is because it is a very safe campus. The yearly police reports, which I have checked, show that the Tarleton campus is a very safe place to be. My worry when it comes to guns on campus is not specifically directed at CHL holders. It is directed at the fact that by allowing anybody on campus to carry guns, you make it easier for those without CHL licenses to carry guns on campus, as there is no way to actually ask a CHL holder if they are carrying a gun. They have no legal obligation to tell you. Unless as a police officer, they don't have to admit to carrying a gun. This makes me fear for my safety and the safety of others on campus. And I believe that safety on campus should be the top priority. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for my moment to speak. I am very pro faculty and staff who are CHL have been permitted. I have had 2 violent episodes in my life, many more actually. I'm a nurse. And we're around people all the time in stressful situations, and if it weren't for immediate security and police officers near me in some of those situations, I'm not really sure what would have happened. I will speak to that if our students that are CHL are having the right to carry, then as a CHL myself, I think I deserve the equal and attributable right. I have had an armed robbery in my home, a home invasion robbery of a long-term criminal who was on multiple medications, drugs, whatever. And if I had not been able to defend my family, meaning my husband and my 22-month-old daughter at that time, I'm quite sure none of us would be here. This man had invaded 2 other homes in the 3 days before. An elderly man was in the intensive care unit for an extended period of time, and a young man who was a pizza delivery man had also been significantly injured. In our case, the moment of decision is when someone asked me, told me we were going to get in the car and go to the bank to withdraw money, and that's just not happening. So I just want to speak out for those of us, all of us value Tarleton, we value the core values, and my lifelong dedication to healthcare, students teaching, and the core values of integrity, honesty, speak to my right to defend myself and those around me. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Richard?
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I just wanted to speak. First of all, I'm not sure that we know who's carrying weapons on campus right now anyway, because they would probably be concealed if they were. Concealed carry, I understand, means it's concealed. You can't tell who's carrying. And so I'm not sure that the classroom necessarily is going to be this, a bunch of gun-wielding students or professors in the classroom anyway. But one of my concerns is the idea of some of these gun-free zones, which to me, for someone who wants to inflict damage on this campus, they would obviously, I would think, choose those. Now, maybe they wouldn't be rational enough to choose those, but I think some would. And so I guess my recommendation is when you're considering those areas that would be gun-free, if you decide there will be any, is what kind of security will you have for those areas? Because I don't think, again, areas are gun-free. It's only to the extent that people will abide by that rule, and those who are law-abiding maybe wouldn't, but those who aren't are the ones that we're more concerned with, I would think. So my concern is, what are you going to do, for instance, with a daycare to keep guns out of that daycare? And just having a sign out in front probably is not sufficient to do that. So anyway, those are my basic comments. Like gun-free zones that I don't think will be.
Good afternoon. I hope you guys can hear me okay in the back. I'm Dr. Lee Baker. I'm a licensed psychologist, and I work at the Student Health Center. And I just wanted to bring to the attention of the committee and concerned individuals on campus the issue of implementing campus carry and its impact on our concerns around alcohol, drugs, and violence on campus. We know as a college student, as a college campus, that we have concerns around the harms associated with alcohol and drugs. And we know that Texas law prohibits anyone from carrying a gun to be intoxicated. I think it's going to be really important for Tarleton and other universities to put in place policies that assure that our students are not going to be carrying their weapons while intoxicated or at venues where we would either serve or know that alcohol would be present. This would include things like our Safe Ride program TAPT, where students get a ride back to campus from local bars. I think also in implementing this, it's going to be really important that we make sure we educate our students about the laws, about our policies, and about what it means to be a safe citizen on our campus. This includes doing things like really promoting our bystander intervention program that we're already working to get in place to make sure that students are able to recognize and respond to concerning situations on campus in a way that's safe for them and everyone around them. We know that alcohol and violence combined are a particular concern. 700,000 college student age individuals are impacted by being physically assaulted by someone who's under the influence of alcohol every year. We know that nearly 100,000 college age individuals are sexually assaulted every year. We want to make sure that we're considering how guns are going to affect those statistics on our campus and that we keep our students safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. That concludes the folks that have signed up ahead of time, but if there's anyone else that would like to have a voice in this forum, if you just step forward, we have a few minutes that we can allow for you to do that. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Nope. Looks like we have one more speaker.
My name is Hillary Foreman. I'm a junior communications major, and my only, I guess I would say, concerns for this law would be, because I'm definitely all for it. I believe that we, you know, as a woman, I believe that I definitely should be able to be given the right to defend myself, you know, when physical measures aren't working, because I'm pretty small, in case you didn't know. And my only concern would be, I guess it's more towards law enforcement, and it's not anything negative, because I definitely hold Stephenville and Tarleton PD up to a higher standard than some of the people that have given y'all kind of bad names around this time, well, period, anyway. My only concern, I guess, would be with minority students who are CHL holders, and I guess kind of fixing the mindset on aggressiveness that is typically seen from minorities, and to make sure that students like myself as a Black woman, Black man, Hispanic, you know, any other person of color is not being disenfranchised and having anything, I wouldn't say anything taken upon them, but to make sure that there isn't a huge gap to where there's a difference between a white male student and, as a Black woman, a CHL holder and a concealed carry holder, to where I'm the one that is singled out in the event something does happen, to where, let's say a law enforcement does ask me, you know, to reveal my weapon and my information and, you know, license and everything, to where it isn't just a one by one, like it's proportionally distributed as far as upholding these rules and laws set out.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else?
Okay, once again, I'd like to thank the Campus Carry Committee and my Dean Styron for allowing me to participate in this. I'm the director of the Institute of Mediation, Arbitration, legal studies and forensics in the School of Criminology in the Hickman Building in Fort Worth. So thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Kent Styron. Thank you.
I sure appreciate everybody coming out today again. I just want to reiterate that. I appreciate the council for their efforts and what they're doing. And we're sensitive to your comments that you brought forward today, just like the ones we've heard. We've heard similar type comments before. I will say the comment that you made about would there be safety programs in place to maybe better inform CHL holders about what they can expect from a police response and how they could work together. The University of Colorado and also Utah State University have programs like that, and so I think that's something that we would look at during the implementation phase to increase the awareness. So with that, I sure appreciate you coming out today, and y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.